Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. I'm Samantha Fury, the superintendent of the Newton County School System. This afternoon, I would like to talk with you about our school system's reentry plan for students who wish to be served in person. As you know, on August the 7th, the school system elected to move to an all-virtual environment to provide educational services to our students, given the level of community transmission of COVID-19. However, we have been working on a reentry plan that allows for a staggered, gradual return to the classroom. And I'd like to share that with you this afternoon. I'm going to take a second to share my screen so we can look at it together. This document will be shared along with this video, and so the video serves as an explanation of what we see in the document. The first thing that's important is that many of you had children who signed up for in-person learning, and this video and this reentry plan starts with you. It's important to note that every decision that I make and that we make as a school system is data-driven because we are considering the health and safety of our students and our staff. And if we have to return to an all-digital environment due to the transmission levels of COVID-19 in our community, we will pivot to that model. But the good news is that we are looking forward to offering in-person instruction to students in a staggered way. However, students who wish to remain in a virtual setting may do so. No one has to transition to in-person before they are ready to do so. It is really important to reiterate, however, that all data sources will be reviewed prior to implementing this plan, and if the data does not support moving forward, school system officials will adjust the phase-in process. The plan must continue to remain flexible and responsive to our COVID-19 conditions and in our community, not in the state in as much as we are more concerned about what happens in our community. So let me take you through the phase-in chart so that you can see and understand how to read it. First of all, we will start school on September the 8th. That is the plan, and everyone in our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools will remain digital. However, we have students with disabilities who are self-contained, and we are working feverishly to get them back in school for September the 8th. And our special education director, Ms. Brooke Ramsey, is working with our parents and our teachers to make that happen. The next phase, actually phase 1 of our reentry plan, begins on September 11th. And on this Friday and every Friday from here forward, we will look at community transmission data and make a decision about whether or not the data indicates a downward trend in the COVID transmission in our community. If on September 11th, we see that the trend is moving in a positive direction, meaning a downward trend in the data, we will email a questionnaire to parents who selected the in-person option, and the parents will then submit that questionnaire by the following Monday, September 14th at 5 p.m. And there's a quick turnaround because we wish to get the students back in school on September the 21st. So on September 11th, we'll look at the data. We will determine if there's a downward trend or there continues to be a downward trend. We're not looking to pinpoint any specific number. It is the totality of the evidence. Is it moving in the right direction? If the answer is yes, we will email a questionnaire to our families who selected the in-person option initially. And then from there, parents will need to complete the survey or questionnaire and submit it by 5 p.m. the following Monday. The students who will first return to school will be pre-K, K and 1 in our elementary schools, and our middle schools will start with grade 8, and our high schools will start with grade 12. And of course, our self-contained students will continue to remain in our classrooms. The following Friday on September 18th, we will look at the data again to determine if the trends continue in a downward movement. If so, the same process will play out. We will send the questionnaire on September 18th. That following Monday, September 21st, all of the questionnaires will need to be submitted by 5 p.m. and the next group of students will start on September the 28th. And the next group would be 2nd and 3rd grade, grade 6, and grade 9. Continuing with phase 3, on September 25th, We will look at the data again, same process. A questionnaire will be emailed to parents who initially chose the in-person option. Parents will need to submit their responses by September 28th at 5 p.m. For an October 5th start for grades 4 and 5, which means all of our elementary schools will be back in session. All of our middle schools will be back in session as we add grade 7. And in our high schools, we would add grade 11. But let's just say on September 25th, when we looked at the data, there is a spike and a trend in the opposite direction, that the numbers are increasing rather than decreasing. This plan would allow for us to put this phase 3, on hold until the following week. So what would happen is October 2nd would move up, October 13th would move up, and we would add a new date for phase 4. And so parents, you'll know then every single Friday, if your phase where your students would be returning to school is not possible due to the data, then what would happen is we would just move up the date. So in this case, October 2nd, we would look at the data again for this particular grade level, which would be grades 4 and 5, grade 7, and grade 11. And if on October 2nd, the data is trending downward, then all of these students would report to school. And then we would select a new date, which would be October 9th. And on October 9th, we would look at the data for grade 10. And if the data is continuing to trend downward, we would submit the email and then follow the same exact process so that all of our grades would be in person shortly thereafter. It's important to note that every one of these dates on this document are subject to change based on the COVID-19 conditions in our community. Again, the health and safety is the most important thing. For us, this model allows for continued observation and study of the rate of community transmission while working to return to the classroom those students who selected the in-person option. And it's really important for everyone to know that if you want to remain in the virtual setting, you are absolutely okay to do that. But also students in grades 6 through 12 who selected option 3, you are committed to the end of the semester in option 3, and that's because of the way that things are posted on transcripts and course grades and credits. And so we'll need to, if you're in option 3, you will have to stay until the end of the semester. Another important addition to our return to school is a mandate for mask wearing. At our last board meeting, our board, in partnership with the school system administration, have mandated mask wearing in our schools and on our school buses unless there's a documented clinical concern. Any student who does not wear a mask will have to remain in the virtual environment unless it is due to a documented clinical concern. And you'll need to talk to your school principal so that he or she is aware that there is an issue with your child wearing a mask at school. We actually met with the Chief Medical Officer of Piedmont Newton Hospital, Dr. Little, and he explained to us how important mask wearing was and is because they have not had any transmission of the COVID virus within the hospital walls from patients inside the hospital or transmission between and among staff members while at the hospital because they attribute it to mask wearing, and that's the evidence. They haven't had any issues. So we too are very concerned about the safety and health of our students, which is why mask wearing is going to be critical to our return to school. This document continues to outline the process for you, and since I've explained it while we were looking at the chart, I will continue on down just to talk to you about what the survey or the questionnaire will ask. When you receive the questionnaire about returning to school, we'll want to know, are you returning to in-person instruction? Do you need transportation? Do you need it in the morning, in the afternoon, or do you need it in both cases? And then again, if you're going to need breakfast and or lunch. Those are the questions that will be included in the survey. The survey must be submitted by Monday, otherwise, Monday at 5, otherwise we'll need for your student to remain in their current instructional model. The data is critical to our principals and school leaders and teachers so that they can plan for your students to be in person. And if you don't complete the survey, it really makes it a challenge for them to welcome the students back to school. In the event that the data does not support a return to school, Parents with students in the impacted grade levels will not return, and we'll look at the data the following week. So you know the plan that if something comes up and we're unable to welcome students back to school due to the increasing rates of COVID-19 transmission in our community, the following Friday we'll look again. So it's not that you're going to be in a virtual setting forever and ever. It's just until the community transmission slows down. We will simply slow down the phase-in process to allow the community transmission rate to return to a downward trajectory. So just some frequently asked questions. Who makes the decision? School system staff, in consultation with health department officials, review multiple data points to determine if there's a downward trend in the transmission rate. What data do we use? So here it is: the 14-day case rate, the rate of positivity, the 7-day moving average, hospitalizations, emergency room visits related to COVID-19. Additionally, we refer to the Harvard Global Health Institute COVID-19 risk levels dashboard, which can be found at the following link. When will we review the data? Every Friday. Should the totality of the data reveal that the transmission rate of COVID-19 is on the rise, school system officials will delay the implementation of any phase of reentry. It's really important, parents, that you understand that this reentry document is flexible and fluid and may have to be put on hold until the community can respond with reduced transmission rates. The following chart speaks to when the questionnaires will be sent to families. And so if there's a downward trend, you will get a survey for phase 1 on September 11th, phase 2 on September 18th, phase 3 on September 25th, and phase 4 on October 7th. But remember, parents, if we have to hold due to an increase in transmission rates, we will update these dates so that you know when we'll be looking again and when that survey will come out. The next question just speaks to what happens if the rate of transmission increases between each of the phases, and we've talked about that. We will use our website and social media, School Messenger, and email that comes with School Messenger, which is why it's critical that your contact information in Infinite Campus is current and includes a current email address. So if you haven't received phone calls or emails from the school system, the next question will help you update your contact information. In order to update, you'll need to create a parent portal account. You'll find the directions to create the account by going to the link listed on this document. You can update your student information remotely. You can change your email and phone numbers, and it will update within 24 hours. But there are other changes that will require school approval and also potentially some additional information. But for the things that you need to receive the survey, your email, a current email, and your phone number, if you will update those in Infinite Campus or through the parent portal, that will be most helpful to us. And if you don't want your child to return to school at this time, you may absolutely continue with virtual learning. We are going to be as flexible as we can be, given the circumstances that we face during this very tumultuous time. Parents, I thank you for your support. I appreciate the opportunity to serve you, and I look forward to welcoming your students back to school as soon as we possibly can. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.